Good afternoon, August 20th, 2024, and I call this meeting of the Beltrami County Board of Commissioners to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have no general comments, but I do see we have one citizen that would like to address the board, and so I have to read this. Anyone wishing to address the county board on an item not on the agenda may come forward at this time to be recognized by the board chair. Please state your name and address for the record. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. A personnel complaint against any individual county employee may not be heard initially at a board meeting. Personnel complaints may be submitted to the board in writing through the county administrator's office. A person addressing the board may not use profanity or vulgar language. Welcome, CT.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. CT Marhula, 4524 Birchmont Drive Northeast, number 10, Bemidji. And I won't come close to using my 5 minutes, Mr. Chairman. On last Monday, that would be yesterday, we had a program at Rotary involving sexual trafficking and underage prostitution. And it just made me think, and this happened in Beltrami County about 2 years ago. In the Pioneer, an incident was reported. And if you can say anything, and I'm not asking you to discuss it here, so Mr. Berry can follow up if it's appropriate. There was a incident, let's just leave it at that. And I'm just curious if it got prosecuted, if it got investigated, if it's still an open investigation, and what the status of that incident is. And that's my comments, Mr. Chairman.
Is there, I mean, do we know what we're asking to investigate?
I'm just wondering this, Mr. Chairman, just the status of it, if they can even comment. The sheriff might say, hey, it's none of your business. We can't comment on that. Or it's still under or, we can't comment on open cases, which would tell me it's still open.
So, David, is that, are you aware of?
I mean, I've been CT, I can talk to you. I can talk with David offline or follow up.
Would that work, CT?
No, that's fine with me. I appreciate your courtesy. And
sure.
Have a good meeting. Thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make one adjustment to the agenda, adding item 9A. That'd be for a county emergency declaration for the July 31st storm. And make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Although, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to 2025 employee insurance. Ann, have you got that one? Woo-hoo. Welcome, Ann Schrader, HR Director.
I have a PowerPoint. All right. Hello, everyone. I'm here to talk about the employee health insurance rates for 2025. Clicker. All right. So you'll see that the employee monthly flex dollars is going to go up $50. And this is an increase that's pre-negotiated during the contract negotiations. And we're currently in a contract that goes through 2025. So it's going from 1,440 to 1,490 for our full-time staff. For the plan design changes, there wasn't a lot happening this year with our medical benefits, which is a good thing. But we are looking at just over a 3% average increase for our medical premiums. And then with that, for 2025, the IRS increased the high deductible plan minimum, which will increase our contributions to the HSA VIBA accounts. And once we do that, if we go up $50 for singles and $100 for families, that in turn decreases the employee portion of the maximum out of pocket. Then there's no changes for the non-HSA plans, and there's no changes for the maximum out-of-pocket costs for those VIBA and HSA plans. For the family plan rates that are within, so we have age bands. So if you have a family plan, your family falls into an age band. And so those rates have changed for 2025, and it's the first time that those have changed within 3 years. So when they're making the determinations of those types of changes, they're developed using like historical claim experience for our current groups. And by doing that, it helps ensure that our group of insurance, so everyone that's in Prime Health, that we have low growth. So it's not, you don't see those steady hikes or those random hikes over insurance years, where 1 year it's 2%, the next year it's 12%. So by doing things slowly over years, it helps maintain those averages. So with that, just looking at our medical insurance history over the years, this is kind of a neat graph that shows when we were on a plan before Prime Health, so before 2018, the average over the 12 years, the increase was 7.93%. Since we've moved to Prime Health, our 7-year average is at 5.21%. And even though we're going, I'm talking a lot of numbers, but even though we're going up that 3%, we're still going down a 0.32% in our average over the 5 years. So it's still a positive reason for us to be with Prime Health, just comparing, talking about those rate hikes and everything that are hard. It's difficult for employees and also difficult for budgeting. Going on to the rest of our benefits, those are all held by Integrity. They are our benefits consultant for our ancillary benefits. None of those changes, or there are no changes in 2025. So the only thing I did want to mention is there were some conversations about the dental tiers. So right now we have 2 dental tiers. We have a single and then a family. There are options to do single, family +1, family +2, or single +1, single +2, and so on. But when you do that, that changes rates for everyone. And since we are in our dental 2-year guarantee with Delta Dental through 2025, we didn't want to make any of those changes this year or look into those changes, because then we would lose our 2-year guarantee and we could have seen an increase for that. That is something that we'll look into for future years. And we can discuss how, or we can look at how that would change the rates for all parties involved. The only other thing on the ancillary benefits that I wanted to note was for short-term disability. So in 2026, it'll start the Minnesota paid family leave. And what that means is over the next year, Minnesota is still working out the guidelines and how the structure will work for that paid medical leave for employees. And that's going to kind of affect short-term disability. You can always run your short-term disability alongside of it, but what you're seeing is a lot of companies are going to a fully volunteer short-term disability plan. So since we'll already be paying for that paid medical leave, they're not continue, or the desire is not to continue paying for a portion of short-term disability. We are a self-insured plan, so we'll have to look and see what our options are if we were to go that similar route, but that's all stuff that can be worked out over the next year as the guidelines and structures squared away for that paid medical leave. All right, so next steps. We met with the labor management team, which is a group of union members, supervisors, some payroll staff, HR. We had John and Richard there. Richard as part of the personnel board, John since he's the Prime Health Board representative there. And we just discussed everything that we kind of talked about tonight, a little more detail, get some feedback from them, what they're having struggles with, what are some things they want to look for in the future, and just having that conversation. But with that, they did agree, or they did motion to move and agree to recommend the rates that I've presented to you tonight for the 3.3 average increase for the prime health rate. And with that, I'm just looking for any questions or the board's approval to move forward with that, and we will have open enrollment as in years past in the month of October.
Any questions for Ann at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Right, yeah.
I just thank Ann for, and you and John, or Richard for your work on this. And it looks, I mean, that's pretty incredible to only have a 3.3% increase and that's, so I'd make a motion that we approve the 3.3% and the resolution and rate increase.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the employee health insurance. Any further discussion?
Chair?
Yeah.
I'm still concerned that, the insurance costs are what they are, especially for those that are on the family plan. I find it kind of ironic that, some of our county employees are qualifying for some of the very own services that they provide to the public. And that's because of the high cost of insurance. So I'm wondering what our options are as far as looking at other providers, when that time makes sense. You know, Blue Cross Blue Shield could be an option, the Service Cooperative, PEEP. There are other providers out there that provide arguably even better insurance at lower rates. So I'm not sold on the numbers here. I do have concerns about this health insurance company overall, so I can't be supportive of this motion. But I would like to know what our options are as far as looking at other providers.
Ann?
Yeah, so we do have a contract with Prime Health through 2027. So we wouldn't be looking at ones this year. So 2027, it would end. So in the year of 2027, you could look at different providers and you could go out to market for an RFP to get responses back. The only thing about that is one thing to be cautious of. A lot of those companies do have a great rate that first year, and then you're tied into a commitment, and that's when you normally see those high spikes. That has become a repetitive problem when you go out to market and get new contracts. So that would just be my only tidbit to share.
Any other questions for Ann? No?
Just a comment. Some of those spikes that you see on that chart that Ann shared were years when it went up 18 or 20%, and the folks themselves really were concerned because that was a big bump to their paycheck, you know, that they had to take out. And that's why when we went with Prime West, that was probably one of our largest goals, is to keep it somewhat equal throughout, because we would know how much to put in as a county towards that paying of the fees. So I'm a real supporter of Prime West for one or two reasons. That one for one, and the second one is the amount of money that they have provided to Beltrami County in the mental health area and in other areas, the drug needs that we've got in our community. So there's been, rather than being a Blue Cross type company where whatever profits they make, they keep, they don't give to the community. Prime West does give back to the community. So when you do look at this down the pike, keep those things in mind, because that's been very helpful to Beltrami County.
All right. Any other comments or questions? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Passes. Thank you, Ann. Chris, you want to come up and talk about county emergency declaration?
Well, good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for accommodating these on your agenda tonight. Otherwise, I'd be asking you to declare, and then we'd have to have a special meeting within 72 hours. So I think this is a win-win for both the board and for my department as well. I'm here tonight to request Beltrami County declare a state of emergency in response to the July 31st windstorm that impacted southern Beltrami County, including the city of Bemidji. In working with I call them our big three, typically the city, the county, and then the electric co-op. Those are the ones that I really go for to get preliminary numbers, to get an estimate as to where we're going to be at for damages, because they're normally the ones that carry us over. And where we're at right now is Beltrami County has a $106,324.40 state damage indicator to request a preliminary damage assessment. And currently we're at 99,655. And talking with the city and Bruce on Friday is late Friday, I had another invoice that was sent to the city, and that kind of pushed them up. We're within 5% of our threshold. In our experience, whenever we go after a PDA, a preliminary damage assessment, is they always come in more than we originally estimated. So it behooves us to declare an emergency, pursue the PDA, see if we get declared, potentially get 75% reimbursement. If we fall short, no harm. We just throw the paperwork out till next time and move forward with our lives.
Questions for Chris?
I do have one comment in particular for Commissioner Sumner is I do want you to know that I did advocate to try to get northwestern Beltrami County in for the flooding. The way that the state works is there's a disaster period, and that typically needs to be within 72 hours. This one was 4 days, so we missed it by 1 day. But I did lobby for that, and Marshall County is moving forward. Unfortunately, it doesn't cross lines, so the county is just going to have to eat that.
Does this, Mr. Chair, this would essentially be a reimbursement to the sheriff's department and who else?
So not to the sheriff's office, it would go directly to the county and the highway department as well as the city. And Beltrami Electric Co-op, where they're a co-op, they're eligible for reimbursement
The
as well.
city does
Correct.
qualify for this because there was a lot of damage to Diamond Point and elsewhere throughout the city. So
Correct. Their debris removal as well as any public infrastructure damage is potentially eligible.
thank you.
Any other questions for Chris? Then I'll entertain a motion to certify and approve the county emergency declaration.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for your work on that. All right, moving on to any other items? All right, legislative and lobbying issues. Start with Tim. No, Richard?
I'm good.
Craig?
We doing commissioner reports?
Yeah.
And had a couple of commissioners join me for a 4-H tour of the fair. That was really fun to get, had some 4-H members that actually kind of were pulled aside and spoke to us about different avenues or different pieces of the 4-H program, whether it be, the cleaning of, the animals and the cleaning of the cows and stuff, and showing us that area, or shooting sports. The 4-H shooting sports had one of the gals, Sage, spoke to us about that, and Amber spoke to us about, and we walked through the barns and kind of had a nice chauffeured tour of the fair. So that was really neat. And then last night we had our fair board meeting, and the fair did really well this year, even despite some of the colder, rainier weather. The numbers were up for the Beltrami Electric Night at the fair on Wednesday. Had another increase there, so that was great. The 4-H booth was did real well with their food booth, and everything went pretty well. The ridership was up, the attendance was up, and everything went real well. And then we had a solid waste committee meeting this morning, and nothing terribly urgent to report there. We had some people that are, needing to pay more attention to the signs at our remote sites and not leave stuff that they're not supposed to at our remote sites. And so just remind people, please be considerate of that. We have a good service by having those remote sites, and we don't want to see that change. So that's all for my report. Thank you.
Joe?
Sure, a couple of ICAP related meetings, board meeting and committee meeting, over the past couple of weeks. There was an opioids, settlement, executive committee meeting last Monday that I attended. We're looking at, different, ways to spend the money regarding, education and outreach. So, we're kind of in the brainstorming ideas phase right now. So if anyone from the public is listening, or commissioners, please send those ideas to either myself or Amy Bowles. We're looking at options for that. Let's see what else here.
You
Oh,
want
there
to
was
talk,
a couple-
about the MDH, Commissioner?
Oh, the MDH commissioner visit, that went really well. That was last week or the week before. And it was basically a listening session with different department heads. It was the assistant commissioner that was here, and she did a really good job taking notes. She was constantly, writing stuff down or typing it actually on her laptop. And we just kind of shared our concerns and ideas as far as support from the State Department of Health regarding our, not just Health and Human Services, but other departments that might have some overlap on different topics regarding county operations. So that was a really good visit. Commissioner Gosvig talked about the fair and 4-H. Then I went on a tour yesterday of the Northwest Juvenile Center as a new board member for them, and had a really good meeting with Mindy and learned a lot, and still looking forward to serving on that board, providing much needed services to our youth. Couple of AMC committee meetings recently. And then the only other thing I wanted to mention is that there's a Ridgeway picnic tonight. There's fry bread, so go and take part and show your support there. And also it's Bemidji Pride this weekend. So if you're looking for something to do this weekend, there's activities at the River Folk Festival School. So that's it for my reports, Mr.
Okay,
Chair.
thank you. I just want to piggyback on what you said about when the Assistant Commissioner of Minnesota Department of Health came. Every department was invited to come, and every department came, and even NRM. So every department we have had something that had to do with health. It was very interesting. It was educational for me as a commissioner to go and hear some of the concerns that some of the department heads had as they relate to the Department of Health. So it was a great, the department heads did a great job and were well prepared. So it was nice. We had a jail design and operation committee meeting, and basically we are tentatively looking at September 25th to Wednesday at noon for a ground blessing ceremony. Just a short, maybe half hour. And that would be at the jail site, which is and I'm not gonna remember the number. 8 something Pioneer Street, 825 or 8 something Pioneer Street, right next to the Eagles Club. So we're tentatively there, and we're checking with tribal personnel and seeing if that's gonna work for them as well. And then Tuesday, October 1st, there'll be a jail pre-bid meeting here in the boardroom. That's where all of the folks that are qualified bidders, as Tom was talking about before, once they get their qualification to bid, any questions that they have, they all come in, and hopefully all the questions get answered kind of at once, where all the qualified bidders come. Then they go out and get their bids and then come back to us. Tom already mentioned the newsletter committee. We did that. And then Tom and I also met with Carl Sanderson to refine the wording on the RFQ, the request for qualification for the bids for the jail, for those people. And then they had a greater Bemidji meeting, and they just, the overall process for the YMCA to come to town is really working nicely, and gonna be a great project. They're the board of the Northern Sky, I believe it's called, for the YMCA. They do Fargo and Alexandria. They're excited to incorporate Bemidji into that group. Their board unanimously agreed to take ownership of the facility. So it's gonna be, I think it's a great project for Bemidji for a lot of reasons. Not the least of which is cleanup of a brownfield. And getting that cleaned up is amazing. And then being able to have taxable folks in that area in the future for both the city's budget and the county's budget will be great. And not to mention just the healthiness of having the YMCA there. So that's gonna be great. So with that,
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
I've been meaning to ask Dave, is there childcare in the plan for the YMCA?
yes, I believe there is. That is correct. Yep. And I don't know to what extent it is, Joe, but I know that there are plans for that. Yes. In fact, I know that they're already working in collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club. So it's a lot of, and that's a great question because a lot of times people think about, well, so YMCA, are they competing with the Boys and Girls Club? But no, they work in collaboration. And so it's awesome. It's, they've hit the ground running really well. So it's exciting to see it. Hopefully, I mean, we're still a long ways away, but
950 slots short. but
Yeah.
just to make it 900.
yeah, you're right. So, with that, does anyone have anything else? Then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Is
So moved.
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.